To me, it was like I lost my whole life. I didn't know where to go from there. I was very proud to be a pallbearer for him. I was very scared. I felt very vulnerable. I felt lonely.
He's got a side to him that's scary.
Kevin Rooney filed a breach of contract suit against Mike Tyson.
Cannot control his temper, and that's frightening to me.
What you're doing with King, you could be doing with Kane. You can tell Kane what you want done.
He gets out of control.
Tyson responded by saying that there was now no chance that Rooney would ever again return as his trainer.
Throwing, screaming. He shakes, he pushes, he swings.
I ain't doing you scumbag.
And just recently, I've become afraid.
I just felt naked to the world. I just felt like a very vulnerable young boy.
I'm the best fighter. I guarantee you, November 8th, I have the championship back on my waist.
Holyfield-Tyson showdown is off.
Being frisked and then let off in handcuffs with a smile on his face were difficult pictures.
I didn't have the chance to let Cus see the prospects of me growing as the heavyweight champion.
What if Mike Tyson never lost his prime? I said back in episode 5 how Ali was the one you'd been waiting for, but maybe that's this one. All you ever see is how would things be if Tyson never lost Cus D'Amato, never lost Jim Jacobs, didn't get rid of Bill Caton, didn't embrace Don King, didn't marry Robin Givens, didn't fire Kevin Rooney, didn't meet Desiree Washington. But no one ever asked what I'm about to ask. What if Mike Tyson took accountability and was wise enough not to make these choices? That's today's task, but before we can go forward, we gotta go back. Everything I listed is undone before 1990. This means that Tyson's subpar performance against Frank Bruno in 1989 is also replaced with a more dominant showing akin to the 1996 rematch. Don King, having failed to steal Tyson from his team, was ousted by Team Tyson and seeks to get him back as his cash cow. Mike's new promoter, fresh out of the scene of episode 5 of this series, is the man whose health never deteriorated in his What If. A man who could sell water to a fish with his style and charisma and has since become privy to the business side of boxing. A man all too familiar with Don King. Tyson's new vocal promoter is the GOAT himself, his idol, Muhammad Ali, who's now playing the Bundini role. Jim Jacobs still handles the matchmaking behind the scenes with Cus, and Ali provides counsel. I guess that makes this a retroactive part 2. Now you gotta go watch part 1. Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield are signed to meet in 1990. All Tyson has to do is beat James Buster Douglas. This is gonna be fun. I'd imagine Tyson's new journey would go something like this. 1990 is opened by an unexpectedly competitive encounter between Iron Mike and Buster Douglas. Cus has Mike in the usual splendid condition all around for this one, and it's a good thing he does. Tokyo Douglas, at the apex of his career, at least up to this point, survives the early onslaught and begins battling back behind his stellar jab and combinations. Mike's defensive prowess is tested well, and he answers the challenge, eventually scoring a knockdown in the 8th. Douglas, fueled by his mother's passing, answers and is saved by the bell from the best finisher in the game. Douglas recovers between rounds and returns to boxing Tyson. Tyson gets the better of the rounds against adversity and ultimately wins a tight unanimous decision. It's the most competitive fight for Tyson since his unification bout with Tony Tucker, who, funny enough, beat Douglas for that opportunity. Buster Douglas may have lost, but his effort lights a fire in him that can only be satisfied by becoming the heavyweight champion. Tokyo Douglas is here to stay, and Tyson's victory has already altered the timeline to add another contender to the Silver Age 90s. Tyson, after the fight, rejects an offering from Don King, and King tells Mike that this was his last chance and he'll regret not coming where the money truly is. King is seen leaving, with Buster Douglas. Cuss, observing the toll the Douglas fight is taking on his man, moves to postpone the Holyfield fight. Cuss wants to use the Douglas experience to sharpen Tyson properly for the Holyfield affair. The Holyfield camp rejects and takes the claim to court, where a judge rules in the Tyson camp's favor. How fortunate for the undisputed champ. Cuss enters Tyson into the most prolific camp up to that point, aiming to unlock a new peak for his fighter. Holyfield tunes up meanwhile against number 3 ranked Razor Ruddock, a fight we sorely missed in reality. It's explosive from the jump, with Ruddock tagging Evander and the Real Deal responding in kind as he always did to being hit. Both men absorb some bombs, but ultimately Evander emerges with a decision behind a knockdown. It's time. Tyson and Holyfield is on as it was supposed to be in reality. Tyson immediately backs Holyfield up to start, but Evander begins making his ground back up. Evander struggles to land against the erratic head movement of Kid Dynamite and eats some bombs. In character, he roughs up Tyson and lashes back at the champ on the inside. It's a nasty affair, one that Cuss foresaw. Tyson is ready and is instructed to let it all go the next time they're inside by Kevin Rooney. He does just that and drops Evander for the first time in the Real Deal's career. The challenger answers, and Tyson wastes little time swarming him. The referee stops the bout as Holyfield takes a beating, and Mike Tyson retains the undisputed title. Please do remember that Evander doesn't have the Riddick Bowe experience nor the Burt Cooper experience at this point. What a war and proving grounds for both men. That's 11 title defenses for Mike Tyson, and he's only 24 years old. Evander just wasn't quite ready for the elite level of this form of Tyson, but you can bet that he'll be back and better. George Foreman thrashes his competition on the year and continues insisting that he wants Mike Tyson. Mike, watching at home, says to Cuss that he wants a big favor from his mentor. It's 1991, and Iron Mike is back to defend his crown. Tyson and his camp wear shirts labeled "Break the Curse" in public appearances. What does this mean? Cuss, Rooney, Tyson, or anyone else on the team will say, they just retort, "Mikey will break the curse soon." First up is a dream fight. The nuclear rising Tommy Morrison rejects a shot at the WBO titleist Ray Mercer in favor of Tyson and Undisputed. The popularity of these two draws money like no tomorrow, and that grinds Don King's gears. As for the bout itself, Tyson bashes Morrison's brains in. It's a total mismatch as the Duke is leagues below Iron Mike. He did land the left hook, but to no avail against the seasoned Tyson. Up next is a rematch with Carl the Truth Williams. This is Carl's shot to make right the quick stoppage from 1989. He's knocked out cold, again in the first round, and he doesn't complain this time. Next, Tyson gets some Olympic revenge with a knockout of Henry Tillman. For his final defense, Kid Dynamite welcomes the challenge of Razor Ruddock. The bout unfolds like a combination of their two fights from reality, with Tyson dropping Ruddock multiple times, Tyson eating some solid blows, and the champ stopping his man, but later in the 10th round this time. Ruddock's face is almost unrecognizable, and Tyson himself has a few bruises with swelling. 15 title defenses for the champ. Meanwhile, Evander Holyfield decisions a returning Larry Holmes, and Buster Douglas decisions George Foreman. Douglas and Holyfield meet in an eliminator bout to close the year. Douglas, as in reality, is dropped by a straight right after leading with an uppercut. This time he rises and boxes his butt off to a decision over the Real Deal. It's another setback for Evander, and Buster is one step closer to a rematch with Iron Mike. A slew of other heavyweights make noise on the year, including Riddick Bowe, Ray Mercer, Tommy Morrison, Michael Moorer, and Lennox Lewis. The division is heating up, and it won't get any easier for the champ. George Foreman's popularity and merit continues growing despite his setback. He and the fans are growing tired of waiting for a title shot. Us takes note of this all and gameplay. In 1992, Mike Tyson signs to fight George Foreman at the end of the year. Ali, in the promotion of the fight, reflects on the history he himself has with George and states that while he is Team Tyson to the bone, he wishes nothing but the best to his friend George in his quest to overcome the cloud of Zaire. But then, Don King, who represents Buster Douglas, takes the matter to court on the grounds that Douglas is the #1 contender, and the court agrees. So Tyson's first defense is a rematch with Buster. Tokyo Douglas enters motivated and in the best shape of his career. This time, Douglas's performance is more so akin to Reality's 1990, where he consistently tagged Tyson with his jab and combos. Despite his best efforts, Tyson struggles badly, as Douglas is also forcing Mike to fight on the back foot. Tyson is dropped for the first time in his career as in Reality, but beats the count. Douglas is spent and is ultimately stopped on his feet in the final round. Close one there. Don King immediately files claims of a long count in favor of Tyson and insists Tyson be stripped. The WBC agrees, but Bill Caton takes the matter to court and saves Tyson's undisputed status. King also fails to secure a rematch for Buster, and it's back to the drawing board. Next up, Iron Mike easily vanquishes Alex Stewart, as he did in Reality's 1990. Cuss is asked about the Foreman fight after and says negotiations have stalled for now. The fans boo their disappointment. Meanwhile, Evander Holyfield decisions George Foreman, but the loss adds to George's credibility even further, as he looked good against the real deal. The 4-man tournament from Reality happens with Lennox Lewis crushing Razor Ruddock and the Eddie Futch-trained Riddick Bowe shocking Evander Holyfield. Lewis and Bowe have emerged as potential nightmares for Iron Mike, and Cuss hits the lab in preparation. Rather than Lewis and Bowe fighting to determine the #1 contender, the Tyson camp chooses Lewis. Tyson insists on letting them fight it out, but Cuss says to trust him. In response, Tyson is stripped of the WBC title, and Don King immediately organizes a fight between Buster Douglas and Tony Tucker. Both Don King guys, conveniently. Tyson ends the year by stopping Greg Page to retain his unified lineal WBA and IBF titles. Remember, Ring Magazine discontinued their title, so no listing. Oh, that's 18 title defenses. Evander Holyfield secures the services of Emmanuel Stewart as he looks to resurge and become heavyweight champion. Riddick Bowe is open about being seemingly ousted from a title shot. Don King tries to swoop in, but Eddie Futch and Rock Newman shut it down. Truth be told, if Bowe had accepted King's offer, he would have faced Buster Douglas in place of Tony Tucker. 1993 opens with Buster Douglas avenging his 1987 loss to Tony Tucker with a decision win. Douglas is the new WBC champion. He's reached his dream. Next up is Tyson versus Lewis. According to plan, Mike exploits the greener Lewis's over-reliance on the right hand and secures a flash knockout. Tyson followed Kevin Rooney's instructions to the T with his combination punch orders. Jim Jacobs organized this fight in conjunction with Cuss, truthfully, because Lewis was clearly the less seasoned pro between he and Riddick Bowe. They want Mike at his absolute best for Big Daddy Bowe. Lewis, meanwhile, reaches out to Teddy Atlas in hopes of unraveling Tyson's magic with Cuss by learning from someone who was once a part of the camp. Atlas has beef with Tyson too, so this is personal. And yes, Atlas still trains Michael Moorer. Riddick Bowe fails to secure a title shot against Tyson or Douglas and signs to rematch Evander Holyfield. Tyson has a dilemma. Ray Mercer is the WBA mandatory, and Michael Moorer is the IBF mandatory. Whichever he picks, he'll be stripped of the other title. Bill Caton tries his best but can't salvage the situation in court. Jim Jacobs selects Moore, but Tyson overrules and wants Mercer as he wishes to better polish himself. Tyson knows Mercer used to have gym wars with Riddick Bowe and needs to prove something. Cuss agrees. Michael Moorer is awarded the IBF title. Tyson has a nasty war with Mercer that goes the distance. Mike retains the Lineage and WBA title, but is banged up well and takes the rest of the year off. The division seems to be catching up to Mike, who now has 20 title defenses. Cuss and Rooney prepare to take 27-year-old Mike to the next level as he enters his physical prime. Cuss brings in Floyd Patterson to further sharpen Iron Mike, and yes, Ali and Patterson squash their beef entirely in support of Tyson. Muhammad Ali goes on a tirade at how badly Tyson has been treated by the boxing world despite still clearly being undisputed, and garners public support for the champ in light of ducking accusations. Next, Holyfield squeezes out a fan man decision over Riddick Bowe and re-enters the title scene. The derailing of Bowe relieves Cuss. Evander fails to retain Manny Stewart over payment issues, and Lennox Lewis, who has learned enough from Teddy Atlas briefly, asks Manny to take him on. Manny accepts. Lewis was also disgruntled that Michael Moorer was gifted the IBF title, and not himself. It's 1994, and it opens with a shocker as Michael Moorer beats Evander Holyfield to retain his IBF title. Evander retires due to heart problems. Riddick Bowe bounces back by knocking out Razor Ruddock. Lennox Lewis wins the WBO title by stopping Tommy Morrison. Morrison retires due to his HIV diagnosis. Lewis signs to defend next against Big Daddy Bowe in the lost Olympic rematch. Iron Mike returns and defends the Lineage and WBA title against Oliver McCall in a well-fought decision in which Tyson scored at will and showed impeccable defense. McCall, being a Don King fighter, means there's misfortune ahead. Evidence comes forth that Tyson gambled on himself to win, and he is suspended from the sport and stripped of the WBA title. This evidence would later be found to be forged. By who is never revealed, but I'm sure you can guess who was behind this framing. The Atomic Bull, Oliver McCall, is awarded the WBA title and immediately drops it in a decision to Frank Bruno. Buster Douglas has been defending against tomato cans and being protected by Don King. His drive has faded since he won the title. Lewis and Bowe clash in a competitive battle of giants that Bowe edges out behind a late knockout to become WBO champion. It catapults Bowe to the overall title picture and serves as a learning lesson for Lewis and Stewart. George Foreman upsets Michael Moorer to become the oldest heavyweight champion ever, and his Golden Age contemporaries Ali, Frazier, Norton, and Holmes are there to cheer him on. Even a very old Sonny Liston, who's still alive, lends his support to George via a televised segment. Teddy Atlas is irate that he'll never have the chance to pickle Tyson via Michael Moorer. As if that was going to happen anyway. 1995 sees Tyson nearly fall into depression over his 21 title defense reign being robbed of him. But his extended family is there to pull him out of it and keep him in shape. Meanwhile, in the ring, the entirely splintered title remains as such. Buster is protected and faces bums. Bruno initially survives as WBA champ. Foreman has safe defenses, and Bowe grows the credibility of the WBO title with a war against Ray Mercer. Lennox Lewis shows great maturity as a pro as well, now looking like the lion from reality. Lewis stops Bruno to claim the WBA title at year's end, and Big Frank retires. As mentioned, the forged evidence is found out and Tyson regains his license. Muhammad Ali's marketing tour in Tyson's absence only boosts the public's adoration for Kid Dynamite. 1996 sees the return of a rejuvenated 30-year-old Iron Mike who's ready to reclaim his title as the baddest man on the planet. He promises his idol Muhammad Ali to match his output from 1966, 30 years earlier when Ali looked invincible. While away, Kuss has worked with Ali and Patterson to reforge the peekaboo style into a block and parry counterpunching machine. This is to compensate for Tyson's waning athleticism. Tyson starts strong with a fight lost to time. He wins a decision over terrible Tim Witherspoon that showcases Mike's new style well. Next up is a title shot against Old Man George Foreman. Team Tyson brings back the Break the Curse shirts, and Tyson enters the ring for the Fight in One. Legends Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, and Larry Holmes are present as they were the night George upset Michael Moorer. Tyson showcases his true maturation as a fighter as he stays at range and adapts to fight well on the back foot. Tyson captures the IBF title by decision, having broken the Liston-Patterson curse. And George retires proud that he went the distance in this new era. Bill Cayton and Don King clash in the courtroom over a unification bout between Tyson and Douglas. Cayton pulls it out and Tyson eviscerates the flabby Douglas in a lone round. Mike is now the unified lineal WBC IBF champion with 24 title defenses via the lineage, and Douglas retires. Meanwhile, Lennox Lewis and a returning Evander Holyfield fight to a headbutt-ridden controversial decision in which Holyfield takes the WBA title. A rematch is ordered but weaved around thanks to Holyfield's new promoter, Don King. Lewis's face is a grotesque mess after. Riddick Bowe struggles against Andrew Golota but wins via disqualification. Lewis goes on to thrash Golota as he did in reality. Don King then blocks the Lewis-Bowe affair by insisting Evander and Bowe unify in a trilogy bout. King wins, but then Bill Cayton sues to force a Tyson-Bowe unification and also secures that the winner will face Evander Holyfield to determine the undisputed champion. Cayton pulls it off for next year in spite of dual resistance from King and the Lennox Lewis camp. 1997 opens with the Tyson-Bowe super fight. Riddick returns to form and Tyson enters on the back of his toughest training yet. It's go time. The Sons of Brownsville put on a clinic, taking years off one another's careers. Tyson finds out that he can't stay inside with Bowe and adapts to get in and out. Bowe matches Tyson with his jab and overhand right. It devolves into a slugfest and Bowe is dropped for the first time ever. He answers, and Tyson ultimately wins a decision to become the unified lineal WBC, IBF, and WBO champion. Via the lineage, Tyson has tied Joe Lewis's 25 title defense record. Kuss immediately sets the stage for Tyson's preparation for Holyfield. It's raw and brutal. Tyson and Holyfield meet in a chess match. Tyson starts strong, even dropping Evander, but caves into Evander's new superior strength over time, the same strength that baffled Lennox Lewis and busted up his face. And ultimately, Tyson is stopped on his feet, akin to reality's 1996. The dream is over, y'all. Evander Holyfield is the undisputed heavyweight champion. His own dream fulfilled. But hold on, there's a flag on the play. After the fight, Evander Holyfield tests positive for steroids, and the bout is ruled a no contest. Tyson regains his belts, and the WBA title is vacant. Don King's grip on the title scene is finally gone, for now at least. Welcome to 1998. Lennox Lewis meets Riddick Bowe to open the year. In a shocker, Lewis overwhelms Bo as he did in the Olympics 10 years earlier to claim the WBA title. Bo retires having nothing left in the tank. Cuss understands that Lewis is all wrong for Mike, but Tyson asks him for one final favor, and it's to help him beat Lennox. Lewis is out to avenge the cherry pick loss and cement his legacy. Muhammad Ali announces that win, lose, or draw, this will be the final curtain call for Iron Mike. Tyson dumps his all into training, determining he's willing to die for this. Lewis, like fine wine, will be ready. Well, is on. Lewis survives the early barrage of Tyson and brings the fight under his control via his jab. He starts wearing away at Mike, but Tyson heeds Kevin Rooney's wisdom and gets back into the fight by attacking the body. As Lewis retakes control, he's caught by another flash knockdown, but this time he rises and is saved by the final bell. The Tyson camp protests that it should have been waved off as it was years earlier. The cards reveal a majority decision. The scores are 117-112, 115-115, and 116-112 to the winner by majority decision, the undisputed champion, Iron Mike Tyson. The hard way back is complete as Tyson once again unifies the division one belt at a time. He retires with 26 title defenses, tying Joe Louis. 54-0. So Mike's legacy takes a jump in this timeline, now having beaten the top names of the 90s. There's actually an argument that he is the best of both the 80s and the 90s, along with being the GOAT. At Tyson's retirement ceremony, Muhammad Ali says with grace, "I used to be the greatest, but now you are, kiddo," and crowns Iron Mike as he did in 1987's reality. Of course, fans debate this because if you remember from part 1, Ali also retired undefeated and had 30 title defenses. It's up in the air. And that's how I saw it. If you enjoyed, box that like button for me and subscribe with notifications on by hitting the bell button next to the subscribe button. Big shout out to my champs and all those who wanted this what if. You can become a champ for exclusive benefits by boxing that join button. This has been the Charles Jackson, author of the Boxing Encyclopedia. Stay frosty.